Has Itauma avoided adversity because he is exceptional or because he remains untested? I think in the ring, Moses Itauma has shown exceptional capabilities. He's shown exceptional timing, and he's shown the ability to finish his opponents. He's shown that his footwork is second to none, and it's been alleged that the building of Moses Itauma in the gyms, in the British gyms, has been absolutely exceptional. Question number 2. Is Itauma's hit him first response confidence or an unanswered question about his chin? Does Moses Itauma have questions about his chin? Every boxer has a question about their chin. I would assume it's a natural question. How good is your chin? I'm assuming Moses Itauma has been hit hard in sparring, and only he knows how he's taken those punches. Is there a difference between taking punches in sparring and taking punches under the bright lights? And anyone, even a fighter like Marvelous Hagler, can be knocked out if they're caught with the right punch, so to speak. I'm not sure. There's nothing to indicate that Moses Itauma is vulnerable in this area, but because his defense has been elite, there's nothing to indicate that he has an exceptional shin, or he has an exceptional chin because he hasn't had to show it. Question 3. Can Hrgovic turn his experience advantage into control inside the ring? Potentially, but it depends how he deals with the southpaw position and the footwork. He has an amateur background. He has a good amateur background, so maybe he can bring something to the table that can test Moses Itauma, because if he won't be able to match him for footwork, but if he can deal with Moses Itauma's footwork and deal with that timing through experience, then we're going to have a very interesting matchup. Question number 4, is Itauma right that quality matters more than years of experience? I think both matter. Years of experience matter because you're processing more information, but the quality of that experience matters as well. I guess I'm trying to think of an example. If you train incorrectly for years, you will make less progress. But does it mean that objectively, that training experience doesn't matter? I guess you could argue that it matters, but it doesn't matter as much as someone who is implementing a plan efficiently. So, in a sense, I guess the quality is essential, but also the quantity is essential. Question number 5, can Hrgovic's refusal to respect Itauma provoke a costly mistake? If Moses Itauma is frustrated and he overreaches, then perhaps that gives Filip Hrgovic a counter-punch opportunity. But Filip Hrgovic, to my knowledge, is not an exceptional counter-puncher. Perhaps this is a personality thing. Perhaps it's just an alpha male dominance thing. I think he's irritating Moses Itauma. But in a sense, different boxers react differently. You irritate some boxers will make more mistakes. You irritate other boxers, and they will fight even more effectively. So I guess this is a test. Is Moses Itauma irritated, and does that hinder or improve his performance? Only time will tell. The 6th question, does Hrgovic's explanation for the Dubois loss reveal valid context or a lack of accountability? Maybe it reveals both. If you're ill before a fight, then that's going to hurt you. But let's reveal the true context here. A lot of boxers go into matches maybe unwell or maybe with small injuries. So that's an objective reality of boxing. However, to indicate that an illness wouldn't hurt your performance or potentially hinder your performance, that would be objectively untrue. But when you only focus on the illness and you don't focus on the strengths of your opponent, or that your opponent had any strengths, and you don't give them any credit, I think then we cross into the lane of lacking accountability, because in one sense, you are accountable for bringing the best version of yourself. It wasn't Daniel Dubois' fault that you came into the fight with quote unquote an illness or not well, or 80% or 70%, etc. Question number 7. Is Mo Itaama's team hearing weaknesses in Hrgovic's preparation that the public cannot see? Potentially. It's funny because it's hard to get that inside scoop about what's happening in preparation. But Mo Itaama's team, if we know anything about Mo Itaama's team, they're analytical. So if there are negative reports that are happening in the camp, then it's possible that they're getting those reports. Here's a counter argument though, and I'm not sure how common this is, but you could put out fake reports that your preparation isn't going well to try and mess with your opponent psychologically. So it's important to understand that you might be getting information, but is that information true? So I think it's kind of dangerous for a boxer to feed too much into that information. Objectively, the best way to prepare for an opponent is to prepare for the best version of that opponent. You shouldn't prepare as if they're injured or have a small injury, or if they're going to have some type of handicap, because that might not be the version that you're going to get. And then the final question is this fight about winning or proving the other man's entire narrative wrong? I guess in the end, it is about winning, but others would argue it's the way you win. Here's a good example. If Mo Itaama wins by disqualification, I think a lot of people would feel that that's not the type of victory that they want. I don't think that's the type of victory that Mo Itaama would want. But equally, if he wins a hard-fought 12-round battle, that will answer some questions. It would answer some questions about his punch durability. Can he take a punch to the chin? Can he take a punch to the body? It will answer some questions about his adaptability, not his adaptability in the early parts of the fight, but his adaptability in the middle rounds and in the later rounds. And it will also answer some questions about Filip Hrgovic's preparation. Did he come in at 70%, 80%, 90%, 100%, etc.?